Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I'm a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Manifesting Magic the Practical Way because there are a lot of practicalities to manifest in these lives that we choose, right? Now, what I'm talking about today is your capabilities. So this is something that I should have learned. I have learned a long time ago, but every now and then I kind of forget and I get into this mode to where I forget who I am. And I want to say that, and you've probably been in many situations to where you forget who you are, right? So, when you're a person that's like multi-talented, you're really talented at a lot of things, right? I come from people who are talented with a lot of things. Like everybody in my family has some kind of off the chain talent to some degree, right? And it's always some kind of hidden thing. And then people find out, they're like, wow, they can do that. I mean, they're just really smart and talented people. And so you find sometimes that other people understand this thing about you. And I find this to be in the workplace, sometimes working in groups with other people or working on teams and stuff, to where people actually know what you're capable of. But sometimes because of their own egos and because of their own insecurities, they refuse to acknowledge it or they refuse to tap you. You know what I mean? And so this is something that I'm doing this year and I'm learning to do because I find myself in different environments and feeling like, oh, wait, yeah, let me show them what I can do. Let me prove this. I'm just like, girl, whatever. You ain't got time for that. And so what I told myself this year and definitely going forward, but, I have the biggest epiphany somewhere the middle of January. And I was like, you know what? When I'm in an environment where people know what I'm capable of and they're choosing to ignore it, I'm just walking away. And I practiced this sitting in a meeting the other day. I sat and I waited because it was something in particular that I particularly do well, right? There are things that I don't particularly do well that I don't particularly want to expand and improve upon, right? Like I'm not the final person you need to go to when you're trying to edit grammar and something, right? I mean, I can get it right, but I don't care about it as much as other people do. So it's good to run it by somebody who's really, really into detail and who's really interested in that part of art. I'm always like, communication has been had. Who cares if the period is right, comma, whatever. But so I already know where my little limitations are with certain things. One of them definitely is being able to I guess speak to the no, I think I'm pretty good at that. Anything detail oriented for the most part. If it's not something design or artsy and it requires detail, I'm never the person that you need to put on that, right? Because my brain just doesn't think like that. And if it's a really long training or paragraph or like an email, my brain pops down all through it. And then I read like the very end and I see if it's something that's worth my time. Then I go back up and read it again. So I got my areas, the things that I don't necessarily do well. And, I don't like overly structured things because to me, it kind of loses its magic. And so if something needs to be overly structured, I'm not your girl. It's not, So I have these things about myself, but then there are those things that I know that I do really well. And it's just like, I know I do it well. I've done it. I've used it. It's been in places. It's been awarded. It's been properly monetized and it's been celebrated, these things that, like I'm confident that I do that well. You probably have these things too. And sometimes I find like if you're in groups or you're in environments or whatever with small people, they try to ignore these things when they know that you're the one, you know what I mean? They know like they're looking for this thing. We need somebody to do, like you're saying you need somebody to do this. You already know what I'm capable of, right? So why we want on, we need someone so just come to me. You know what I mean? But so many people can't do that because when I need things, I know who to go to directly. I don't try to do things that I'm not good at and I'm not interested in. I hate doing things I'm not good at and I'm not interested in, especially at this point in my life. Like I really got to want to do it to learn a new skill set or something. And when I find myself having a joyful journey with learning a new skill set, that's wonderful because I'm like, ooh, 43 and still excited to learn something, right? 43 and still in a very technical field and working in IT, technical concepts and ideas and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people don't continue to keep up. But that's what we think because we kind of, if you came up and you were like an 80s kid, 80s baby, because I was born in 79 of December. So like, 80s baby, I'll call it, unless, 25 years, but 25 days in the 70s. But if you grew up in that kind of era, then you were at the shift and had it young enough in order to latch on to these things. So most of the people I do projects with or I've done work with in the past, they're well into their late 40s, 50s and all because, well, we had access. So it's a little bit different than, the generations before. And so you find yourself in these spaces and environments like that. And you like, I can learn new things and you know what you're capable of. Sometimes I just want to, if this is confirmation for anyone, don't sit around and try to tell people what you know how to do again. That's a waste of time and energy. Reserve your time and energy and reserve your skill set for places where it's being celebrated and people are truly okay with telling you what you do great at any given time. Because when you're willing to tell people what they're doing great, where they're killing it, how they're expanding and improving and evolving and all that kind of stuff, all you do is get more of it, right? But I find that in a lot of environments or teams and places, when somebody really shines in like one particular area, for some reason, everybody just wants to put that fire out. And I think it's really because that light is really blinding. And I'm not saying that as some kind of like, rap line or like joke or like, point at them because they're not good enough. It's nothing like that. It's just it's a fact. That light or wherever you're shining at is really blinding. And so it's really hard for them to accept it. So because it points to things in themselves that they haven't necessarily developed yet. But this is the thing. Everybody's great at some stuff and things. And if you're spending so much time on trying to ignore or belittle other people's talents, you can't possibly be spending that time on developing and promoting your own talents. Because people that are in that space are more of in a receptive mode, right? And when you're in that mode, they're going to see what you're doing. It's like, wow, that's cool. Guess what? When this happens, let me ask you about it, right? I have things that go on all the time that I never remember. I can do the process 100 times, but if it's not something that I remember and I'm not very detail oriented with administrative things, especially, I'll pass it and send it and share it with people constantly. I don't need any glory for anything that I'm not good at. I'm not interested, What I want to be good at in that scenario is being able to know my own limitations in that area and then who to find to go and do that thing. Like I write books. I don't edit those things. I would never trust myself to edit an entire book. Whatever. I was using the wrong versions of is and are my whole childhood and like has and haven't, I just grew up in environments, it was all I be, we be, and, it was all that kind of grammar that I had to really pay attention to as I got older. And so I don't really just think I'm this perfect person to edit anything. So I pass it over to people. And when they do it, well, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This sounds so good. The sentence was clunky. I'm glad you cleaned it up. It's wonderful, right? And so I think that's a great place to actually be as opposed to sitting there all the time trying to prove, I'm capable. So if you're ever in environments where you're capable of something and everybody around you know what you're capable of, they know the wisdom and the intellect that you bring when it comes to a particular subject matter or what you've been through, your lived experience, and they're choosing not to come to you, that's perfectly fine, right? No big deal. But what you can't do is sit there and try to prove to people that you're so valuable that they should come look for you. Like, always kind of, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. No, let them see it, whatever times they see it. Once they get that one glimpse at it, their view of it, then they know, right? So stop trying to prove to people that you're capable when they already know it. They're just refusing to see it. And let them be in the dark and let your light continue to shine. Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful day and keep manifesting magic.